Yes, sir, man. It's your boy Curtis Cash back with another video. So I got two videos for y'all today. I'm gonna start trying to upload every other day starting from now on. I wanted to kind of started doing it from when I started the other video, but it was a whole lot of stuff that was already in place. But I also, like I said, I just wanted to get a video out for y'all and everything like that. Schedule's gonna be changing up, but at least YouTube wise, the videos will start, dropping at the same time like I always have, like 1 p.m. They'll always be scheduled to always drop at 1 p.m. So from this point forward, um, this video should drop on the 6th at 1 p.m. And then from that point on, every other day for this channel, it'll be 1 p.m. July 8th, 1 p.m. July 10th, shit like that. And we're gonna slowly just get that, and with a little schedule. But the video that I got today, because I don't want to take too long on it, because it's 12 minutes, is the Daily Divide in Huddersfield, some shit like that. I don't know if I'm saying that correct, but it's FBlock versus Topsides. I don't know who is who and what it is. I just know I was recommended to watch this video, and I'm pretty sure it got the Booter B dude, who I've never listened to, so I don't know who that is. He was also recommended. So before I listen to a song, let me get the history behind his group or whoever his group is, and then see what's to him after we done reacting to this video. Again, I ain't gonna waste too much time talking in this. We just gonna get straight to the point. If y'all got more recommendations, leave them down in the comments. I'm on top of all of it. Again, it ain't just gonna be just strictly here with my reactions. I'm also streaming, back with my streaming stuff. So click on the link tree for that. I'm also gonna be uploading gameplays and stuff like that on my gaming channel. And again, I told y'all I make music and shit, so I've been doing that since maybe 2020. I haven't been consistent on that, but again, my bag is everywhere, man. I got it going on in a lot of different areas.
Of drill music coming out of Huddersfield, with rappers like Booter B making a huge noise in the scene. However, what a lot of drill fans are unaware of.
So that just makes sense on why y'all wanted me to watch this video. So appreciate whoever recommended this video. Just off the rip, I know this short, but again, appreciate who recommended the video and recommended the songs. Again, I be liking the background information and knowing who people is anyway. Y'all know I react to not just the music, but also, the behind the scenes of what these guys going on as well.
Of is the ongoing war in Huddersfield between two street gangs. Huddersfield is even known to have a massive gun crime problem, with news channels labeling it an epidemic, with broad day shootings and stabbings playing out between two gangs, those being FBlock and Topsides. FBlock is a street gang based in Fartown and parts of Birkby within North Huddersfield, around the HD2 postcode. Fartown is notoriously known as the worst part of Huddersfield, with it even being labeled a war zone by residents living there. The FBlock gang has been around for nearly 2 decades, with FBlock even having traces back to the early 2000s. However, they would only refer.
I don't know if I'm listening to this correct, but Fartown is where FBlock is from, or is that I guess they town, because here you got people who claim a street, and that's they street. That's 1300 gang if they from 13th Street or some shit like that. So it's FBlock like they whole town, or that just like a block that they that they got in that city or something like that.
Refer to themselves as FBlock in recent years, due to them starting to drop music. FBlock mainly beef Topsides, Dalton Drillas, and Birkby, which has become very deadly in recent years. FBlock also has an alliance with Walpole, or Wally, which is another street gang based within Huddersfield. In recent years, we would see FBlock blow in the drill scene, with a young rapper named Booter B exploding on the scene. Now Topsides is a gang also based around the HD2 postcode within North Huddersfield. However, Topsides is split into 3 different subsets, with the younger generation going by RSK and Up Top nowadays. However, the original generation goes by BBD, which stands for Black Bandana Gang. These 3 sets make up the Topsides gang. Topsides is based around Brackenhall, Sheepbridge, Dayton, and Bradley. Whilst Topsides don't have many rappers, the rappers they do have are seriously hard and definitely deserve some recognition. A lot of Topsides rappers don't really drop songs much, with a lot of their music being leaked. Around 2018, Topsides would start beefing Wally or Walpole, which was close with FBlock. Topsides would also beef Dalton Drillas around this time. Following this, FBlock, Wally, and Dalton would decide to form an alliance. However, this wouldn't last long, and Topsides would declare a full-on war between the gangs. FBlock members would start to distance themselves from Dalton members around this time, as they saw them as responsible for starting the war. This meant Wally and FBlock would beef Dalton, and also beef Topsides. This then resulted in Dalton being a renegade gang, meaning they have no allies, and beef all of the gangs in Huddersfield. Now, stabbings and shootings would play out between Topsides and FBlock, with a lot of these shootings playing out in broad daylight. daylight. So much so that around the late 2010s, FBlock would even start referring to themselves as BDG, or Broad Day Gang, due to them carrying out shootings and stabbings on ops in broad daylight. It would be around 2000.
This should still be crazy as hell to me, because either way, violence is just crazy as fuck. But you know, I'm saying like in the fact of how over here, you know, gun violence is, you know, just gun violence and shit, right? You know, it's still crazy as hell, but you know, motherfuckers usually ain't hitting their targets, you know, doing this shit. You know, sometimes they missing or they just shooting sporadically at a bunch of people. To stab a nigga in broad daylight, it's some crazy ass shit. I'm not gonna lie to you, bro. I'm not gonna lie to you. Let alone just stabbing the motherfucker in general, because that take a lot of. I feel like they take a lot of. Nigga, you crazy. That's it. Just walking up on a nigga stabbing him in general is crazy. But doing it in broad daylight, nigga, you are insane. You really don't give a fuck about nothing.
2018 that one of the most notorious incidents would occur between the gangs. Now, Topsides boss named LM and other Topside members would catch a prominent member of FBlock named Booter B. They would attempt to shoot at him. However, the gun would allegedly jam, with the Topside members fleeing. Around 30 minutes later, FBlock would look for retaliation, and a member would spot LM and shoot him in the head.
So the nigga who's the top dog, I'm guessing, for the FBlock group, damn near almost got off and survived because the shit jammed. And I'm pretty sure it's a song on that. So if it's a song on the attempt happening, whatever it is, let me know the song down below as well.
On camera.
Pretty sure it's on both sides too. So if the other side got a song on it, I want to hear that too.
However, the bullet would graze his head, and he would luckily survive. This incident is often referred to in recent Booter B songs.
Gonna give my bill. They tried to drill at me and they failed. They knew that's a big mistake. But why? Within 30 minutes, their boss got slapped with a shotgun shell. It was me.
It would be around August 2019 that we would start to see FBlock members starting to make music. They would drop a rude cipher titled FBlock Cipher. This included many different FBlock members freestyling. They would refer to the shooting of LM multiple times on this song, and would even reference another incident where another opposition member would be stabbed with his girlfriend.
Remember that day in Brex? When he got knifed, man tried run, got his girlfriend sliced. Don't try come to my side.
Drill fans would start to notice FBlock as their bars were seriously rude. The cipher would do good, considering this was FBlock's first appearance in the drill scene, and it currently sits on 428,000 views. Following this, FBlock wouldn't really be consistent with music, with most of the members focusing on the streets, with FBlock alone even making up a lot of the knife and gun crime within Huddersfield, with FBlock even allegedly shooting one of their own members around 2019 due to internal disputes, separating the gang into two sub-gangs, which in recent years we have seen popular FBlock member Booter B rap about. It would be around 2020 where Booter B would be jailed, as we wouldn't see any more music following the FBlock cipher. Topsides would also be quiet around this time, however they would still carry out deadly attacks on any rivals, with them also being a big contributor to the gun crime within West Yorkshire. However, a lot of their members were pretty unknown, as they didn't really rap around this time. However, we would see the beef explode in December 2020. On the 19th of December, 2020, Jams, who was an FBlock member, would be taking his mum to work. However, what Jams didn't know was that 3 Birkby gang members would be looking to kill. They had scouted out Jams's house the day before and would be waiting outside his house for him. Jams would be sitting in his car, outside of his house waiting for his mum, when the Birkby members would spot him. They would fire multiple shots into his car. Jams would be hit numerous times. Police and emergency services would be called to the scene. Paramedics would try their best to save Jams. However, sadly, he would be pronounced dead on the scene. A murder investigation would be launched following this. Originally, 4 men were arrested for the murder. Police would connect these men to the crime, and later in 2022, they would all be found guilty and be jailed, with 3 of the 4 men getting a life sentence. Rest in peace, Jams. FBlock would be looking for retaliation following the murder of Jams, and only days later, they would find their retaliation. Only days later, FBlock members would be lurking and looking for ops. They would spot a Birkby member named Tooch standing outside of a mosque and would shoot him multiple times. Tooch would be hit in the head by the oncoming bullets, with him being killed on the scene and paramedics arriving moments later. However, luckily, Tooch would be revived by the paramedics and would survive the attack. This incident is also often referenced in recent FBlock songs. Only 10 days after the death of Jams on the 29th of December 2020, Booter B, who hadn't dropped any music at all in 2020, would return to the drill scene with a hood's hottest freestyle. Fans would start noticing that Booter B was talking real grease in his songs, and fans would also start commenting on how hard he sounded on drill beats. Booter B was steadily growing growing a fan base. 2021 would begin, with the violence in the streets still continuing, and dozens of articles being published surrounding broad-day shootings and stabbings playing out between the gangs. And in August 2021, Booter would return to the drill scene again, after not dropping for 8 months. He would return with a song titled No Point. The music video to this song was even filmed on their op block. In December 2021, Booter would link up with Pac-Man TV and release a hotspot freestyle, which would gain a lot of attention and currently sits at just under 1 million views. However, Booter wasn't done there, and 10 days later on the 16th of December, he would drop a song on Mixtape Madness titled Blanks, where he dissed Topsides, Birkby, and Dalton for attempting to shoot him with blanks. 2022 would begin, and we would start to see Topsides rapping again, with a younger generation going by RSK starting to drop songs. In May 2022, 2 members of RSK named YC and Lurks would drop a song named Risk It Avenue, where they would diss FBlock and other rivals. Topsides would be somewhat consistent, with rappers like YC really putting on for RSK around this time. At the start of August 2022, FBlock members would spot a Topsides member named Nino outside of a men's club. The FBlock members would draw knives and start to attack Nino. One of the FBlock members would thrust his knife towards Nino, resulting in his hand being chopped off. Eyewitnesses said that his hand was twitching on the floor following the stabbing. The FBlock members would flee following this attack, with a 17-year-old boy being arrested shortly after the attack. However, I can't find if this person was charged or not. Booter B would be blowing up around this time, gaining hundreds of new fans every day. However, what no one was expecting was that the next person would be killed due to the beef during this time. On the 15th of August 2022, Javs, who was a Topsides member, would be at a street party on Claremont Road, Moss Side, which was located in Manchester. During the early hours, members of Wally named JD and Capo would spot Javs, who was standing with friends. The boys standing with Javs would fire off a firearm toward JD and Capo. However, the bullet would miss and hit the floor. Capo and JD would respond with knives and would chase down Javs. Javs would be stabbed 5 times by the pair. JD and Capo would flee the scene following the stabbing, and paramedics and police would be called to the scene. Javs would be rushed to hospital. However, he would die whilst being treated in the hospital. A murder investigation would be launched following this, with all of the members from both opposing groups going on to be arrested. JD and Capo would also be arrested. They would be charged for the murder of Javs and would be found guilty. JD, who was a Wally member, would be sentenced to life with a minimum of 21 years, and Capo would be sentenced to life with a minimum of 20 years. Rest in peace, Javs. It would be around August 2022 when Booter B would find himself fresh home from jail after previously going to jail in May, 3 months earlier. Whilst it's unknown why he went to jail, he does reference being charged with 3 attempted murders, but beating the cases a lot in his songs following this.
You are not the same. Took the AM to trial and never lost the case. I see the look. I got back 3 attempted murders. I shot my mouth, never said one word. I shot man.
Booter B would be released shortly after the death of Javs and would drop a song named BNB, or Back and Better, where he would rap about jail and how his fans kept telling him to focus on music, which it looked like Booter was ready to do. The violence would continue to play out in the streets, and under a month after the death of Javs, another person would be killed as a result of the rivalry.
It just makes sense though, for real. Like, if people recognize that you got potential, you got talent and everything like that, and you involved in this crazy ass lifestyle, folks, to just focus on the shit that's really just taking you off, man. Like, I don't know, man, to get out of that shit. But again, there'd be a whole lot of extra shit behind the scenes. People just can't let go of shit, you know, don't want to let certain people down because they done, you know, made commitments and loyalty things and shit like that. So I feel like it just be hard once you to put yourself in a place of, these are my brothers and I'm gonna hold them down to the very end, you know. And some people really, really stand on that loyalty, you know, so it's hard for them to just let go of the whole gang side of stuff to focusing on that, because, you know, it's still gonna be in their ear, little chirps, little people talking to them and everything like that, you know, even they homies and shit like that. Nigga, like, we got shit to do. Fuck that music, like shit like that.
On the 21st of September 2022, a 15-year-old member of Topsides named YR would be on his way home from school with friends in Huddersfield when 2 young members of FBlock named Slim and Jugga would be waiting to ambush him. They had dressed into black clothes and had prepared face masks. When YR would walk past Slim and Jugga, the 2 FBlock members would jump out and stab YR multiple times. Slim and Jugga would flee the scene following this incident. YR's friends would try and help him. They would call emergency services, who would arrive on the scene moments later. However, despite their best attempts to save YR, he would sadly be pronounced dead 2 hours later in hospital, meaning yet again, another murder investigation would be launched. The two killers who weren't able to be named due to them being 15 and 17 at the time would be arrested not long after the murder. They would be found guilty and would be sentenced to life with a minimum of 16 and 18 years each. After the sentencing, their names and faces would actually be released to the public. Rest in peace, YR.
Damn, they actually released the kid's face over there? I ain't gonna cap, they don't do that over here. Oh, I guess it depends. I know for sure here they don't release kids' faces at all. And, you know, let alone, I know they did some crazy shit, but they don't release kids. But then they actually got charged too, though. Which is, you know, they ain't gonna say that's a surprising thing, because some kids do get charged here, though, but they just don't release the faces of children at all, type shit.
My condolences go out to his family. During the rest of 2022, Huddersfield would basically be on fire, with it being normal to see shootings and stabbings happening daily. This much violence in Huddersfield would result in the crime rate soaring to 136% in comparison to London's crime rate of 87%. Booter B would release 6 different songs following his release in August 2022, which is good consistency, and would result in Booter blowing in 2022, with new and old drill fans all starting to notice him and the Huddersfield drill scene. 2023 would start with Booter B dropping a UK drill banger titled Strawberry Daiquiri, which was seriously hard, and on the 9th of February would drop a song featuring Mastermind. However, only days later, another person would fall victim to the streets. On the 20th of February 2023, a 17-year-old named Harley Brown, nicknamed Drips, was an alleged member of Wally, which was a gang allied with FBlock. Anyways, Harley would be standing near a 24-hour shop on Colne Street within Huddersfield and would spot 2 boys who were Dalton gang members. Anyways, the 2 boys aged 16 and 14 would chase Harley onto Maple Street, where they would catch up and stab him multiple times. The attackers would flee, and Harley would stagger onto Kings Mill Lane. Harley would be taken to hospital. However, he was sadly pronounced dead in hospital hours later. Following the attack, a murder investigation would be launched, with the 14-year-old being arrested hours later during the day, and the 16-year-old being arrested 2 days later, on the 22nd of February 2023. Both of the teens would be facing murder charges, with them both pleading not guilty. However, in December 2023, both teens would be found guilty. The younger boy would be given 10 years, and the older boy would be given 14 years. Rest in peace, Harley Brown, or Drips. Harley Brown would move from Deptford in South London to Huddersfield around 2020, as his mum had fears he was being groomed into drug gangs in Deptford. My condolences go out to Harley's friends and family. Following this incident, Booter B would drop his first EP, featuring 5 songs. These songs had one feature from fellow FBlock member GR, who we have also seen start to make music following this. Booter B wouldn't stop at an EP though, with him dropping a Daily Duppy and a Mad About Bars to end the year. And as 2024 began, he would drop a 16-track album featuring rappers T-Way, Heady One, Still Brickin', SL, and We Want Wraiths, which just shows how well-known Booter B has become in recent years. If you have learned anything...
That is true. Now, from what I know back then, that a lot of them dudes right there that was just on the screen, I don't know all of them, but I know some of them, I have reacted to some of their music, and that was years ago. And again, I was just getting into it, you know, and he wasn't even out yet. There was no Booter B when I was reacting to UK drill songs, or at least he wasn't like super duper big. Again, because I see some of these say 2021 and 2020 that he was dropping music, and I was reacting to it, but he just wasn't out and about how he is now, I guess.
From this video, make sure it's to not involve yourself with the road life. Stop. Rest in peace, everyone in this video. If you
shout out UK drill plug.
Hey, yo, Ren, turn that up.
Now, I don't think I caught everything, you know, but everybody who died on what side, I don't think I caught everything. But that definitely gave me a lot of insight on who Booter B is and basically the come up of Booter B. So again, appreciate who sent me this video down below and that last video. Again, I got a song for him. I think it was his most recent song that I got for y'all. So I had that out for y'all soon. Y'all appreciate it. Keep on dropping the reactions for y'all. Again, every other day it should be a reaction. So again, just make sure y'all leave recommendations. Y'all can follow me on any of my socials, send me links, whatever y'all want to do, DM, whatever it is, or just leave it down in the comments. I appreciate y'all. I'm gonna go ahead and get out of here and see y'all in the next one. Your boy out.
Nobody helped me, just been grinding on my life. Smoking on the gas got me higher than the kite. Drove with the shit, how a nigga take flight. Nigga, you a bitch, might as well be a dyke. Been know a nigga go this hard on the mic. Nigga get money, now she wanna spend a night. Niggas wanna shoot, but nobody wanna fight. And fuck all that love, shit, I grip my heart tight.